Welcome to episode 3 of season 6 of the Working Audio Tools podcast, the home of discussing all things mixing and mastering and documenting our journeys to becoming full-time mix engineers. This episode is sponsored by Baby Audio, the maker of creative instruments and effects for music production. Baby Audio plugins are all about solving problems and adding character to your mix, from stylish heavy compression with the IH-NY2 to dynamic resonant control and suppression with Smooth Operator. Head over to babyaudio.io to learn more about their extensive range of plugins and get 15% off any order with the special Working Audio Tools code that we have got generated on your behalf, WAT15 at checkout. There'll be links in the description below. Paul, this is an exciting episode because we've been building up to this. Yep. We've been doing gear challenges. We've done a budget of £1,000 to mix on headphones and speakers, and last week we did 5,000, and this week we are doing unlimited, no budget.
All out.
I'm excited. I've got some notes, and Paul, I believe you've not made any notes this time. You're just doing it off the top of your head because for years you've been pleasuring yourself at the idea of your own dream studio.
He started, ladies and gentlemen. Them's in the age he started. Right, so I'll go first, right, and we'll just, you know what, we'll go back and forth, right? So, dream studio, right? I'm thinking like a boy. I'm thinking like, what did I want when I left uni, and like, what do I still want to this day? Now, I think this is where me and Ed are going to agree here, because he's got the UF8 and I've got the Faderport 16. So it's going to have to be a console. I would be that console guy. And in terms of the console, I'm split in half, right? Because
it's one of three.
A part of me is saying Neve console with like all 1073 like inserts. I'm like, ooh, okay, because I do use Sonomus Britson, which is, you know, the Neve kind of whole console crosstalk stuff. So it makes sense to have the Neve, but I did really like the modern like outset of the Audient console. It's obviously not as big as a Neve, and I know it's
it's one of four then, right?
Right, yeah. So
the brand I've casually ignored, who are our friends on the channel.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think just from a modern perspective, I quite like the way that everything was laid out, and I don't know. I think if we were going all out and we were going like thinking of money as no option, I would probably just get the Neve all 1073s. So as much as I like the modern outlook of the Audient, and it would be the one that realistically, if I was getting a console, would be the one that I would buy, because I wouldn't have the money to buy a fucking Neve. In terms of the Neve console that I would go for, I'm not too fussed about, you know, the whole history rare stuff. Like many people would say, I would want the Sound City one that Dave Grohl's got, that Fleetwood Mac worked on. I'm like, that doesn't really bother me. All I would really want is a good Neve console, probably a modern one, because I don't want a console that's going to give us fucking headaches. So I'd probably get like a modern Neve one, but if I could, I would get all Neve 1073 inserts. I'm quite intrigued because you're saying one of four, so like, what are you thinking in terms of consoles? Because I know you'd have one, I just know you would.
Well, it's SSL, Neve, API, and Audient.
Right, okay.
Give or take Harrison, give or take Trident, but those are, I'd say, are the big three.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would go towards an SSL Origin.
All right, okay.
Which I believe is the one with motorized recallable faders. So pull up a mix, boom, your faders are there on the console. That's blowing my tiny mind. And I like the SSL 611 EQs, and I like the SSL UF8 stuff. You can even stick one of those in the console, I believe. Yeah, it's flexible. It's got a lot of routing options. I do like the idea of tracking on a proper desk rather than going through lots of different preamp boxes and, you know, word clocking stuff. Just stick it all through a desk. The beauty, obviously, with these desks is you can run external preamps. So I would still have the 500 rack of other analog preamps to get whatever colors and textures I so desired. But I love the idea at some point of having a studio where I can record full band productions, do it all through a desk. and then mix through the same desk. And if it's got digital recallable faders, that's the one. So the 32-channel SSL Origin is £45,000. So I've got one on order. Not.
Now, what I find interesting is that, like, if I was going tracking, I would go Neve, because going in, I would want all the colour. Like, I would, like, probably have... I know there was consoles, I think, that you can get them modded and stuff, but there were some Neve consoles that I think the insert, the preamps were all 1073s, and I think the compressors you could have like a Neve 1073 plus the EQ would be your 73, but I think the compressor would be like the 22504, which is like the mono 33609. So if I would have like a diode bridge compressor on every single one, and a Neve 1073 is all my mic pre's, I would probably love that. Go full colour, print all of that on the way and get all that character, where you would go for an SSL. But I know you did say you would have external preamps, but would you probably like have certain colourful, maybe like a few 1073s, APIs for certain things, or do you think you would track mostly just through the SSL and use their preamps?
Probably mostly through the SSL, because let's face it, I'm going to gravitate towards pop and rock.
Yeah.
Stuff that I'm recording, so that slightly aggressive edge, if you drive the SSL preamps, can be quite nice. But yeah, would definitely have a couple of things for different vocals and different instruments, stereo pairs of Neves, which I have already, stereo pairs of APIs. The world is your oyster in this episode, mate.
Now, I'm not going to go through microphones, because I think we'd all have the same microphones, you know, the Elam 251, U47, U87, you know, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But let's talk about, you know, speakers and headphones. We'll still stick to our theme. Now, speakers-wise, in my head...
Kali LP6s, edifiers, and we did this last episode, Paul.
No, I wouldn't go for that, right? What I am thinking is I'm thinking full hybrid setup. So if I was doing it, no budget, right, my stereo setup would have to be encapsulated in my Atmos setup, because obviously I'd have an Atmos setup. Now, I wouldn't have 7.1.4, I'd have 9.
Well, hang on. Why are you limiting yourself to one room? Surely. That's a downgrade from where you are, Mr. Third. You've got a stereo room and an Atmos room.
Yeah, but
surely you would do that again.
No, it's a pain in the arse, right? I've got the Kalis back in the live room now, and it's like as cool as it is, as I could play a mix in here or any audio from here out from there, because I've got everything linked through the Evo 16 and the SP8. I would like to just be in the one room. So in my kind of mind, the way I would, if money was no option, I would have a 9.2.6 setup. I'd go all out. I would. The great thing is with that setup, obviously, when you go to the left and right, that's your stereo. I would go full PMC, because what I heard, and just for the record, when we were in LA, blew my tiny Scottish mind, and I was like, this is the best that I've ever heard. So that was a
good shout for Atmos.
Yeah, I would go full 9.2.6, like PMC, big massive room, fully treated to the hilt. I would pay an acoustician. I would pay the best acoustician that there was. I would maybe get 3 of them just to be like, go against each other. Right, okay. Is that right? Is that what he did? Right, okay. And I'd get them, I'd measure it, and just like not have to sit and worry about where my sub placement is. Because obviously I would have a custom built room. The room would be built like with an acoustician's spec. You know, they would be able to do whatever they wanted. I wouldn't be fucking buying a room, obviously, that like you had to work with. So I'd be treated to the absolute hilt. Money's no option. Full PMCs. So again, the stereo would be with PMC as well. But then obviously, right, I'm Paul Third, and you know, I do like to have a little bit more. So I would probably have, I don't know if this would work, but I do like the thought of having the big massive fuck off mains. It just looks amazing. So I would have my Atmos set up, and then because the room's that big, I would probably have massive mains. That, I don't know what they would be though. I really don't know what they would be, because I'll ask you what your speaker setup would be, because you know speakers more than me, and you would maybe have a good suggestion for what the mains would be. You maybe wouldn't want big massive mains, even though I think they look fucking the bollocks. I just think they look like amazing when you come in. And then I would probably even have like little monitors. You know what I mean? Like Emra was telling me today about these £1,300 ultra near fields that he's got. I'm like, wow, £1,300 for ultra near fields, and he's like, yeah, fuck it, yeah, why not? So again, if money's no option, I would have a really, really good set of ultra near fields. Obviously, I'd have like the left and right, the PMC Atmos setup for my left and right for stereo, big massive mains, and I think that would be me. I think I would be happy with that as a
all right. So
mono
what
setup.
interface are you driving all these speakers with, and are you using room correction software?
No, the full thing would be Trinov, man. I'd go like full out, or whatever the best is, right? I don't know if there is a better. I've heard a few people talk about stuff that is better than Trinov, but look,
yeah, people talk about D-Rack all the time.
yeah. So whatever, look, I would just go to the acousticians and I would say, look, what would you suggest would be the best? Obviously, they'd be like, well, if we've done our job right, then you won't need anything. So just give us the money and no room correction. So, but I don't know if that's actually possible. I don't know if acousticians could, from scratch, build a room where you genuinely don't need room correction. It probably is possible. So I'd like to think I wouldn't need any room correction, but...
Well, it's the thing is, it's not just taking into account hotspots and nulls and modes in the room. It's also the time alignment of the speakers.
True, yeah.
And that is where the real genius in Trinov is.
Yeah, so I probably would go Trinov because you've got it, M's got it, a lot of people do swear by it. So it'd have the full shebang, full Atmos.
It's got its
Trinov.
quirks and it's got its bugs, but it is generally industry standard for a reason.
Yeah. And then interface-wise, obviously I'd have Aurea because for the Atmos side of it. And then stereo, yeah, it would have to be Aurea. And then I just live my best life, really. I still have a top-in. I'd have the top-in DX9 there for the headphones and stuff like that. But knowing me, I would find a way of linking the top in some way where...
so you don't want a Lynx Hilo, you don't want a Chord Dave headphone amp, you don't want an M scaler.
I've not tried them yet, so I can't say.
You tried them at M's place.
Yeah, but it wasn't really enough for me to know what I was listening to. I mean, so see what we were listening to, was that all through the M scaler? Like when I was listening to the Dave, that was through the M scaler, right?
Going up to 768 kilohertz or something like that.
Yeah, fuck it. I probably can remember saying to M, I seen a photo and I was like, and it was an Instagram story. I was like, how are you getting that to 300 and whatever fucking kilohertz? And he was like, M scaler. I was like, okay. It's overkill. But then if money's no option.
It is overkill. I mean, you can hear the gaps between notes with that thing. It's I didn't like it, if I'm honest. The Chord Dave headphone amplifier, that would probably go in the list. That is just the pinnacle. But once you've got there, there's nowhere to go. You are literally
totally
at the pinnacle of conversion with the Aurora that he's got, the Lavery Gold as well. If you want that,
I wouldn't go
color when you hit.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't see
the conversions.
I wouldn't go for those things because I've heard them and I know they don't really make any fucking difference. So for me, workflow is still super important. So Atmos has to be Aurea. It has to be Aurea because I've still got to work on it. It's one thing going, oh yeah, look at this and look at that and look at that. I've seen a lot of setups where you can tell people have bought it because they want it to be like, look what I've got, and I can tell it's like you speak to them, they're like, oh, that's a pain in the arse, and that's a pain in the arse.
They've Audient have created an incredible product for filling a big hole in the market with Aurea.
Yes,
nailing the Atmos setup.
I know people keep on speaking to me about it and being like, oh, what about this and what about this and what about that, and I'm like, look, I know there's other interfaces out there and that have enough outputs, but there's things that Aurea can do that makes your life easier. Yeah. Even just the fact that you've got the SonarWorks calibrations on the fucking on the unit itself. So you can switch from stereo to Atmos, but it can be a completely different stereo setup and it's fully calibrated. And again, you can have that fully calibrated outside of the DAW, which is a massive thing. So again, somebody asked me about a Focusrite Red. It was a Focusrite Line 16 or something, and I was like, yeah, it would work, but try getting that calibrated outside of the DAW because SonarWorks only works inside the DAW, not outside the DAW. But obviously, with having the SonarWorks calibrations on the Aurea unit itself, when I stream Atmos, I don't need to worry about anything. So when I'm in the DAW and out the DAW, it's fully calibrated. There's ways of doing it.
But
it's just a pain in the arse.
This is an episode of no budget, and you would not be using SonarWorks because you'd buy Trinov Demon, which is £10,000, and you could have a Trinov controlled Atmos setup.
Yes,
which meant that with your 16.4 2
The fuck away.
setup.
Fuck, I'd be massive. 9.6.2.
9.6.2. Okay, so you're talking 17 speakers.
Yeah.
So with Trinnov, you could calculate your room only measuring each speaker once versus each speaker 37 times or whatever you have to do for
Yeah, true. Very true.
for Sound ID, which is just a horrific workload. All right, so you've talked about all the connecting that up. That's cool. So speaker-wise, I'm excited by the Ex Machina Arcturus. Right.
Okay.
Now, these are 3-way speakers, and the idea is that you don't need a sub with them. They are flat down to 28 hertz, and at minus 6 dB, they are down at 16 hertz.
Wow.
Which
Jesus.
for full range speakers is insane. You can get them designed as soffit mounted speakers, which I think is what I would do, or freestanding. They're big fuckers. And they're a cool £27,000 for a pair. But they crank and they go they're flat up to 30 kilohertz, which, I can't hear that obviously, but that's an interesting fact. With those, I would get the Amphion 218s with the 700 amp. They're £7,500 with the Amphion Bass 225 subs.
Is that what Ed's
with the bass
M's
amp.
got in his studio?
1200, which is 9,600 for the pair. I believe that's the setup
Right,
M's
okay.
got, although I think he's got chord amplifiers to run his Amphions,
Right, okay.
I believe. But I'm loving mixing on my Amphion 115s. Just they just highlight anything translation-wise that's an issue immediately. I'm loving them, and I really want the full range setup at some point. I would keep the PSIs, because why not? And I love PMC 6s, so I'd just have a set of those. But this would be in a separate room. I would have a live room, a mixing room. I'm not bothered about Atmos.
Oh, I thought you'd still have it, mate. See once you hear it. See once you come to my studio and we go through Apple Music and I start going, right, let's listen to that bit in that song. Let's isolate fucking Stevie Nicks vocals and fucking most of the Rumours albums. You'll be like, it's addictive. It's very addictive.
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay, well, let's throw it in because it's unlimited budget.
Yes. Yeah.
So I've got a very clear idea. I've been collecting samples off Instagram. I've got a saved folder of studios that I've found that I like, and I know exactly what I want my mixing room to look like.
Right.
And I know exactly what I want the live room to look like. And I was thinking of putting the Atmos setup in the live room, or go on better, have Atmos, have mixing, have live room, vocal booth,
Yep.
and then a production suite for videos. And that's where I'd put the PMC 6s and do what you've done, which is to link up all the systems in-house. So you effectively have 4 different rooms to listen to mixes on. Do you know what? If it's no budget, you could just have a car without. It doesn't even need an engine, right? It just needs a battery. You could have a fifth room.
Proper.
You could
No
have a fifth
budget.
room. Fuck it, put in a couple of different cars. Do you know what I mean? Put in like an SUV and some rubbish little, I don't know, I won't name a brand. Some rubbish little speakers, car speakers. You might not even need the car, you might just need the speakers.
Or no what? Just have a garage. You just have a garage underneath the bottom of the studio. And that garage would just house lots of fucking different cars.
The Working Audio Tools podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at DistroKid for all of your musical distribution needs. Don't forget, you can't just upload your songs to Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, or Tidal. You have to go through a music distribution service. There are many out there, but DistroKid is the one that Paul and myself use. They don't take any of your royalties. You keep 100% of the streaming revenue that you earn. For just $1.92 a month or $22.99 a year, you can upload unlimited songs. Your lyrics can be found in Google and other places. You get the blue Spotify verified checkmark, and you can create royalty splits between yourselves and fellow contributors. You also get access to the new DistroKid iPhone app for editing and uploading songs and accessing your statistics on the move. There are plenty of other tools available on DistroKid. We'll go through those in another section.
How would you then get the mix? Because I'm thinking I'm wanting seamless. So I'm thinking I want to be in the control room and then bugger off and have everything remotely controlled so I can send that mix to the car. I don't know how I would do that.
Well, what you might need for that is something as old school and analog as cars that still exist that have tape players.
Oh,
Do you remember you used to get a tape
I had one
that
of
you'd stick in with a cable
my
coming
Renault
out?
Clio. I was under the bottom of the seat.
with a mini jack that you could adapt to your phone via, I don't know, a lightning adapter or something. There are ways around this, Paul, with zero budget. In my experience, there's not many problems that can't be solved without throwing enough money at it. So beyond that, I think I'm looking at the Lynx Aurora to patch all that together, maybe even two of them, but the top spec IO, I think, was coming in at about 6.5, 7 grand when I spec that out. The Flock Patch XT, which is the 128 channels of IO digital patch bay from Flock Audio. I love mine. It's great. And that would be just basically, beyond that, I would have racks of 500 gear just to process stuff on the way into the desk. Maybe I wouldn't because I'd have the SSL. However, I would have it anyway. Why not?
But we'd still need converters for the console, obviously. Which I would need because it's the Neve.
Lynx Aurora for me, yeah.
No, actually, know what I forgot. The Aurea is really just for the monitoring side of it, like for Atmos. But see, like for all the rest of to run the rest of the studio, I would go RME UFX Mark III. That's what I would go, because that thing could do everything. That to me is like my ideal interface, like Swiss Army knife, top grade conversion, but it can do everything. Like it's like we all know how good fucking stable RME is, but like the UFX3 is everything. You could do anything you fucking want with it.
Oh yeah, and that'd be good for you being a PC boy.
Yeah,
they honour their backdating all their drivers. Beyond that, the only other thing I thought of was, yes, exactly as you've mentioned, the Studio Designer. I thought I'd made a note of it. I've made a note of a company called JV Acoustics, who are based in Germany, and I believe they're the ones that design Just for the Record. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but if anyone is in LA or visiting LA, please go and visit Just for the Record studios. Don't tell them we've sent you because we don't want to piss them off with a load of visitors because they're not an open house museum.
Yeah, I know.
However, if you can work with those guys, oh my God, just the most incredible sounding rooms we've ever been in. And, you know, bear in mind, I've been in Real World, Angelic Studios, Metropolis, Abbey Road, Rack Studios. I can probably keep going in London. These are the best sounding rooms I've ever heard. Just dead. The only minor criticism was right in the middle. There was maybe a 1 or 2 dB dip at like in the low mids, but everywhere else in the room, holy smokes, it was incredible, wasn't it? We literally can't gush enough about it. That is Just for the Record studios in LA, North Hollywood, I think they are.
And can I just say, right, because I know that people are going to get on there.
You can say whatever you like, Paul. It's your podcast.
Our podcast.
Well, yeah, obviously,
yes. Just anybody thinks that it's like, yeah, Ed's just here for the ride. It's really Paul's podcast, really. Look, I just want to make it clear that, see, when we're doing this, right, it's just for a bit of fun, because I know there are going to be party poopers in the comments, and this is what is probably...
Nobody's got unlimited budget.
Yeah, and it's like, you don't need all these things, you know, all you need is a Tascam and a couple of mics, you know, and a pair of Bayer Dynamics, and that you can make fucking great records. Yeah, we know.
And it's the skill, not the tools, etc. We are aware of this. We're not stupid. We do this for a living.
Yeah,
almost for a living.
Please, it's just a bit of fun, right? And see, sometimes you need a bit of fun. We're genuinely talking out our arse. We're talking like, again, look, we're talking. If we're talking about having a fucking garage at the bottom of our studio just to be able to listen to our mixes,
with a swimming pool and a sauna.
Oh, you need all that,
coffee shop outside, accommodation. I really like the idea of having a residential studio, you know.
Big time, yeah. Something like Sawmills or something. Not Sawmills. What was the ones that Queen made? Bohemian Rhapsody. Rockfield, yeah.
Rockfield.
Something like that, and do it proper.
Yeah.
But yeah, all that stuff I'd love. I'd love to have like saunas but that's why. But I'd still want it to be like in a village, you know, beautiful, beautiful countryside. It's what I love about Errol. Like it's just absolutely beautiful. But I'd love it on a grander scale. But yeah, like it's just a bit of fun, right? So please don't fucking piss on the fucking Don't be a party pooper, right? It's just boring, right? It's just have a bit of fun in your life, please. I know you want to moan. That's what you do on YouTube, and you're like, oh, not moan today. Oh, thankfully I could hit the moral high ground. But no, this isn't the place for it. Right, fuck off. Right, we're having fun.
But please comment with what you guys would put in. What would be your number one choice of speakers and why? What would be your number one interface and why? And is there anything we've not mentioned that you think is a great idea? Do you know what I think is a good idea? Getting a DeLonghi coffee machine in.
Oh, you can do fucking all of that stuff.
And a beer fridge. And I'd want...
And a chef. You'd need to have a chef.
Oh my God, the food at Real World Studios. So the chef there, I believe, is a former Michelin star. He may even still have it.
Peter Gabriel doesn't fuck about, does he? Jesus.
Oh, if you're on a session there and you stay over, the accommodation's stunning as well. And the surroundings are beautiful. You get lunch and dinner provided by the chef, and obviously like a breakfast in the morning, but the lunch and dinners are cooked, and oh my goodness, the food is tremendous.
Yeah, oh my God. Makes me
big shout to Tom at Universal Audio for getting me on a job there with him. That was
Spawny get.
That was a great experience. And I found a Focusrite Scarlett interface in the back.
Oh yeah, you said that,
yeah. I think there's the only SSL 9000K desk ever made, or one of two or something in that studio. That's in a U shape. It's so big it takes up 3 sides, right?
Yeah.
And in the back, in the room with air conditioning with all the amps and stuff, there's a Focusrite Scarlett, and I was like, "What is that for?" And they said, "Oh yeah, we do live streams with that."
Yeah, does its job, does it has its purpose. By the way, I've not spoken to Ed about this, but I do think, because there's been a lot of comments about this, that we will have to do this probably in the next episode, or maybe 2 or 3 episodes down the line, as an episode about all the boring stuff that you're going to need, because I think many people have been saying, "Oh, that's all fine and well, I can get any speaker in that. What about power, and what about cables, and what about stands, and what about all the things that you're going to need to realistically build, a studio on a grand budget, or like a £5,000
Okay, here's what we do. If a boring episode like that sounds like a good idea, give this video a dislike. If it sounds like a good idea, give it a like. And then we'll weigh up. We'll know specifically if there's dislikes. Well, we won't know if they dislike us or the video, or if they're voting. So this could backfire. But yeah, we could do a video on that. I think we should do a video on best, plug-in bundle under £500. I mean, for me, that's a simple one.
I don't know. Somebody did mention that, but my worry with the plug-in bundle stuff is that there's so many things that go on sale, and sometimes, I'm not a big plug-in bundle guy because I'm so particular about things, and I find that sometimes when you buy plug-in bundles, you'll buy it for maybe like only 2 or 3 plugins, and you'll never use any of the rest. Sometimes I feel like you can waste your money.
Not in my case,
really?
Which we'll reveal in that episode. But we should include in the budget maybe a few others. What would be a good budget for that? £500 or £1,000? Because I think realistically, people have probably spent more money on plugins than they actually realise.
Yeah,
probably more than they dare add up. And I wouldn't be surprised if the average person had over £1,000 worth of plugins.
Well, yeah, I spent close to £1,000 in Waves plugins before I started YouTube, and it's one of the biggest regrets of my life, because you're lucky if I use 2 plugins.
What else are we thinking about without getting into the boring stuff yet, like a decent chair and a desk and K&M microphone stands and, Megami cables if there's no budget restraints?
Now, we'll have to go into gear, do we? We'll have to go on to the nasty world of being a gear slut, because if you've got unlimited budget, you are going to go down the gear. Your gas, God, that room is going to be stinking when you walk in. You'd probably think, Paul's not going to have that much analog gear. I probably would, because I don't know.
Are you want to fully go down the analog route now?
Fuck it, why not? Because I do like that. I do like, again.
Even that though, we're talking LA2A,
stuff.
Obviously, 1176 of some kind, if not multiple. Pultex, EQP 1As of, ideally the Pultec brand. Do we need to, is this a bit like microphones? It's just obvious stuff you're going to get,
Okay, let's change it then. Ultimate budget, you can only pick 5. If I was to say to you now, right, I'll give you unlimited budget, but you can only buy 5. You can only have 5 pieces of analog equipment. What would it be?
Okay, Manley Voxbox.
Really? Oh, okay. Interesting.
LA2A.
Okay.
1176, I think the original revision.
Okay, 3.
Not sure.
Really?
I think some kind of master bus processing, maybe a summing mixer of some kind.
Right, okay.
Debatable whether...
But you've got a console, so you wouldn't need that, would you?
Yeah, true. And AB tested me on a software versus a plugin. I can't remember what the plugin... Sorry, plugin versus hardware. I can't remember what the plugin was. And I literally couldn't hear the difference. That was the one test he's done that I've definitely failed. Maybe a Rupert Neve Portico 2.
Right, okay.
SSL Fusion. I don't know. I think there's better pieces than that.
Yeah, totally.
Might just get an SSL just to piss you off, though, to be honest with you, Paul. I'd say that'd be worth its money in gold.
All right. Now, I can't believe you did...
Okay, what are your 5?
Right. I'm obviously going to go for a Fairchild because I am that boy. I am that Beatles absolute, snob. I'm getting a Fairchild.
Oh, yeah.
I want an
fair.
original Fairchild. I've got to have it. It's my... know what I want? I would want, the pieces of analog gear that look like fucking military grade, tanks. They've got to look good because at the end of the day, I know I'm hardly ever going to really use them because I'm a realist. But if I'm I want the stuff that looks super cool because you know what? I want my studio to look cool as shit, and that's a big part of it. But a Fairchild, I would want it because it's the Beatles. I would know what I would maybe just go proper because I am a Beatles nut, and not many people know that about me. But I am a Beatles nut at heart, so I would get a Fairchild.
I've just thought I know exactly what I'd want.
What?
A stay level.
Bastard. That was on my list, right? Okay. So that was going to be Fairchild, and then it was going to be probably an RS-124, but the original one, not the Chandler one. I want an EMI. I want proper Beatles nostalgia in my studio. A stay level would have to be there because obviously...
I mean, if you've got... Hang on, if we're talking unlimited budget, just buy Abbey Road. I mean...
yeah, totally. Don't think anybody... Actually, I wonder how much do you think Abbey Road would be? Imagine Abbey Road needed the money for whatever reason. Somebody who... I don't even know who owns it. I couldn't even tell you how you would buy Abbey Road. Hundreds of millions? Obviously, it would need to be.
I don't. It's just one of those things that you can't put a price on. I think,
yeah,
just because of the legacy.
It's a bit like Mona Lisa. Is it? What is a fucking what is the price for something like Abbey Road?
And Abbey Road is as overrated. I'm joking.
Yeah, so it would be Fairchild. It would be probably an RS-124, or a TG, whatever. I don't know, whatever I could get my hands on that was original EMI built Abbey Road. And it would be a stay level because that would be my main vocal compressor. And I think I would get a BA60 because that's what I use as one of my parallel vocals. Sometimes, so whoever wins between Tim's LA2, the stay level, and the BA6. So I would need to definitely have a BA6 and a stay level just because my concern would be if Acoustica completely stop supporting Nebula, which I do think will happen. I think it's probably going to be an eventuality, and I won't have access to Tim Peace, which would be shit. So I would need to have those two. And LA2 I can get anywhere, fucking either 10 bob a penny in plugin world, and fucking doesn't really matter what you use, I think. But those two are special boxes, so that would probably be my 5. A bit of Beatles nostalgia, just to kind of tickle my Beatles fan nostalgia, and I'd have those 2 main compressors. I would basically be compressors. Because I don't really give a shit about analog EQs. I don't give a shit about EQs. And you know what? The last one, I don't know if that's 4 or 5, but I would need to get a TubeTech CL1B, again, for the clients. If I'm going to have people coming in, again, I want my studio to be in a place where I had everything that suited my personal tastes, but a client would walk in and I would have everything that they would expect in a room. Many people may say, well, you would need to have an Avalon, or you need to have blah, blah, blah. But I would have, for me, the things that would be the staples. And normally the staples in this, engineering world, if you're in the LA kind of scene and many other scenes, would probably be, a Neve 1073, TubeTech CL1B, and, U47, Elam 251, or again, the Sony.
Shadow Hills mastering compressor?
No, I wouldn't be too fussed with that, to be honest with you. Because again,
I'm not too fussed about the plugin, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Again, I know Jason, it's interesting because Jason only really seems, he just uses it almost like gain staging. It's got a little bit of sound to it, but it's only tickling. Remember, he's always got to hit 1 dB. Yeah,
he almost uses it as a metering plugin just to check that he's hitting that 1 dB of compression.
But yeah, I mean,
limit his drum and bass bus.
And I think what's really difficult, right, is see when money's no option. I kind of feel like you just turn into like a little boy again, and it's more about like looks, because when you showed me photos of Peter Gabriel's studio, like the little boy in me was like, oh my god, that looks so cool. Knowing that it costs, I don't even want to think how much that fucking costs. But
they don't use most of the gear as
yeah,
well.
it's crazy. Yeah. But there is just something. I think, you know, when it's like just pure enjoyment and it's just pure audio geekery, like when I was in Abbey Road, knowing that I'm like this, like probably like wouldn't make or break a mix, but like looking at the TG stuff and just knowing that was used on Beatles records and stuff like that. And you know, like if I had the money, I would probably be a bit of a hoarder in regards to like historical pieces. Like I would type, if I was a billionaire, I'd be that type of nut that'd go guitar daft. Like I'd want the piano that such and such was written on. I'd want the guitar that such and such played and was on such and such record. Like I would have a shit ton of instruments like that. So when artists came in, you can kind of build a legacy and be like, right, okay, I'm a way to write this song. Right, I'm a way to play this song. Right, there's such and such guitar, and that legacy kind of lives on. I like the idea of stories. I'm quite nostalgic at heart, where like I love the stories of Abbey Road. I love the story of Sim City. You know, I love the story of all the studios and even the mics. Like as much as I'm like, you know, I know that, for example, you can get like a really old mic, but knowing that it was sang through all these greats and stuff doesn't make it sound any better. But it's just something that's like nice about it. I'm a musical history geek, and I would almost like to kind of have, kind of like Joe Bonamassa. What's his called? Nerdville or something like that. His kind of studio. I would like to have like almost a bit like an audio museum, and I'd love to have a back shop where it's like I would love to make my own stuff. You know what I mean? I would need to have a tech. I'd probably just know what I'd probably do. I'd just turn it to Tim Petherick and be like, "Know what, Tim? I'm gonna like there's a lab for you, right?
I'm gonna buy you.
I'm gonna buy you, Tim, right? I'll buy you a house, and you could just sit there and see when I just like be like, no, let's just make a plugin, Tim. We'll just go out and fucking make a plugin. But yeah, there's lots and lots and lots of stuff. But I think what's scary is that the amount of money that all of this stuff costs is crazy. Even just the speakers alone, thinking that there are people out there that can afford £27,000 for a pair of speakers, it just blows my mind.
The Working Audio Tools podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at DistroKid for all of your musical distribution needs. For a little bit more, $39.99 a month, you can have 2 artists on your roster, which includes everything just mentioned. Additionally, synced lyrics in Apple Music, further streaming analytics statistics. You can create a customizable record name. Mine, for example, is Ed Thorne Rhythm and Records. And you can customize release dates, pre-order dates, iTunes pricing, and again, much more. Now, if you're an artist manager or a record label, the Ultimate Bundle gives you up to 100 artists for just $89.99 a year. And you get 1 terabyte of instant file sharing, which is useful, but also contact information for thousands of playlist curators on Spotify. This is really useful so you can pitch your artist music to playlist curators around the world. Only available in the Ultimate Bundle from DistroKid. I almost feel like I wouldn't want this level of studio because you've got nowhere to go.
I know.
But on the other side of it, what I've always done with live sound and with what I've tried to do with the studio is get the gear so that I am always the weakest link in the chain.
100%, yeah.
And I've always just to push myself to be better and better. And I think that's worked. I think that is working. And at some point, I will update stuff as and when I feel like my ears are outgrowing them. But with this stuff, you've got nowhere to go.
I know.
If you're going all out. And also, you know, once you've satisfied your gear acquisition syndrome, then what?
I know. I would do what MSM does, right? I know for a fact I'd do what he did. Where, like, I would get something, I'd try it out again because I'd get bored of stuff. And I would just be constantly buying gear and trying out stuff, because what I've learned about even just getting these speakers in and getting stuff, you know, like into test, I do really enjoy it. Like I get a kick out of testing audio equipment. Sort of many people find that unbelievably boring and are like, no, I just want to mix. I enjoy mixing, but I love, you know, listening to different speakers and comparing the sims of things and getting different preamps and comparing the sounds of them. Like, I would be a proper scientist, you know what I mean? When I wasn't mixing, I know I'd be doing a lot of what M's done in the past, and what he probably still does, where he gets a piece of keyring and he's like, right, how can this work? What's the sound of it? How does that compare to blah, blah, blah? And, because I think there's nothing better when, like what we've seen what MSM done. I'm not going to tell you which piece of gear it was he used, but he just went from that, found something, used it, twiddled the knob a little bit, and all of a sudden he was like, what do you think of that? And I was like, that was
the low end on that bass part he had.
Yeah, know what it was? I loved the fact that it was like a little bit of not an accomplishment, but a little pat on the back, that kind of problem solving, that it's fun. It makes mixing
but
a little bit more fun.
But it wasn't even a problem, because we were listening to the low end and being like, oh, that sounds great.
I know.
And then he did something because he knew it could be improved.
Yep.
Ran it through something. Again, we won't say what, but wow. And it's just those little things are what sets him apart from everyone else.
And
really.
that's for me, those are the things I get into. Those are the things that make me want to come in the studio every day and work, you know what I mean? And that's something that I know I'll always have. I think my wife says to me, Paul, see, as much as you make fun of all the gear slots and stuff, he went, Paul, at heart, you're a massive gear slot. It's just that you're a tight Scotsman and you refuse to pay for stuff. And it's true, but
I think even if you were a millionaire, Paul, you'd still be tight.
Oh, I would be. I think it's just in you, man. You know, it's either in you.
You'd have a mattress made out of €100 notes.
But I think, what I think me and Ed would like you to take from this, as much as it's a little bit, it's just fun. You know, when we're talking about ridiculous things, I think what's important is always kind of having it's good to have dreams. It's good to always want to make things better. But at the end of the day, me and Ed would always build a studio and invest in what made us want to continue working. What made us want to sit in that room and just feel like, right, I want to work in this room. I want everything kind of at my fingertips, because that's something that I like. That's why I like the Fader Port 16. That's why I like having the 500 series stuff there if I want to use it. I like being able to work very seamlessly. And my desk would be fucking ridiculous, man. I would be custom built.
No patching required with the Flock audio.
Yeah, that's a great point. I would probably go for that, man. I would go all out Flock patch by the whole fucking shebang. But my desk would be like encapsulated. I would love a desk that properly encapsulated me. Like when I was in it, I was a bubble. And I was like there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think ultimately my takeaway of this is, and also based on the video where I asked if I'd wasted 30 grand on analog gear, the overriding comments that I quite liked, well, the overriding positive comments were, if you enjoy using the gear, it's not a waste of money.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And for me, getting the analog was learning the nuances of analog and honing my ears into the subtleties of it, rather than just taking a plug-in and assuming it's doing what the analog's doing. The overriding negative comments were, it's, none of that stuff makes the song better. None of that stuff makes you a better engineer, which is also, I guess, true rather than negative. But most people phrase them in negative ways because, anyone who says, oh, I've got 30 grand of analog, they're like, yeah, people just get jealous, don't they? But if you enjoy it, get on with it. That's what I say.
Yeah,
that's my takeaway for the only other thing I was going to mention was it just occurred to me, it's been a while since we've slagged off each other's snare drum sound. So yours are shit, Paul. Sample the shit out of it. On that blonde shell, I'm checking out. I'm going to go and save some money and check on my crypto, see if I can afford the studio.
Yeah, we'll never be able to afford the studios we've just talked about. But yeah, I think Ed raises a very good point, and it's something that I'm trying to. I'm going to make a video on my channel this week that's going to feature Ed. He's not going to be in it, but I'm going to talk about him and a lot of other engineers, because
this is news to me, everyone.
I know he doesn't know about it, but it's a very, very...
And after Paul's last video directed at another YouTuber, I'm nervous.
No, it's probably the nicest video I've ever made, because I'm going through a lot of stuff right now, and I'm in a very kind of reflective place with my physical health. Again, I've got an MRI at the end of the month that I'm kind of shitting myself with. So I'm in a very reflective place, and I think it's like what Ed's spoken about there is kind of bringing me home a little bit, where, again, that YouTuber that, again, like I made a video, like retort to, kind of, He was talking about, how fancy GUI plugins, that's what it is. They lure you in with the fancy GUIs and stuff, which is true. But what I have found is, see whatever makes you feel comfortable that the mix is done is actually worth way more than you think. Yes, it could be like a placebo. Yes, it could be something that just, again, you could do it on the most basic stock digital EQ, but for whatever reason, when you dial in that high shelf and whatever, you in your little fucked up head, you sit there and think, this sounds better. Yeah, that the mix is finished. See whatever makes you feel confident that mix is done, whatever. And I think if it's analog gear and even just the thought of running it through and in your head, you believe that this is better and this is making the mix better, and that was the final touch that has just made that mix like perfect. That for me is actually worth more than what many people think. What I don't like is when many people talk about gear, and they put that in the person's mind that you need this because this is going to make your mix amazing, and then they put that in their head, and then subjectively they think it is doing something better when it actually doesn't. So I always believe in combining, all this stuff with, like, as Ed said, practice, experiment, learning, the sound of everything. But if having a massive amount of funny fucking things in your studio and all this gear makes you feel better at working, makes you feel more like makes you feel more confident in your mixing, your production. If having a fucking Neve console makes you feel like you can make better fucking recordings, then this thing is really the most important thing. And whatever makes you happy, that's what I'm starting to get just now, Ed, is that I'm getting less into the whole fucking techie stuff and being like, oh, it's a waste of money and you're getting conned everywhere. I'm just like, know what? Fucking do what makes you happy, because that's the most important thing. This thing we do what we do because we love it. Me and him, like, I've spent all like the money that we've spent and all the time that we've devoted to doing this and learning and getting fucking chastised online because we love it and we want to be the best that we can. And as much that, like, I'll give Ed fucking a bit of a ribbon about the 500 series stuff and we'll laugh about the AMS that he hardly ever uses. It's like, when I know that when Ed sits down in his room, I know that he's like, right, okay, I feel like I'm ready to mix. I feel like it's enjoyable. And you know what? You only get one life, and it's very important that you enjoy that life. And know what? See if it's fucking spending loads of fucking money on stuff that like just sits there and you just fucking twiddle a knob every so often. See if it makes you feel good and it makes you feel happy and it makes you want to do what you love. Then fucking just go and live your best life. Genuinely. I've been saying that a lot recently. Just go and live your best life.
Hashtag.
Yeah, unfortunately, me and Ed don't have the money to live our best life because it was, I like the idea of me and Ed Studios. If I was to price that up, Jesus Christ, I don't even want to think how much.
You'd probably not have much change from $1 million from what we've just
more
talked
than
about.
that, way more, mate. Fuck, we're talking saunas, them chefs and shit. That's a salary. You know what I mean? Michelin star chef every month. Jesus Christ.
I mean, okay, car garage, sauna, swimming pool, and full-time staff aside, I think building. I'm talking about the gear. The building itself is, construction of it. You're probably talking $1 million.
Yeah, but no, what it's fun to, again, I think, because I know people are going to fucking be party poopers and just have it. No, stuff like this is okay to do, right? Because we're not telling you to get yourself into debt. We're not telling you that you need all this stuff,
telling people
right?
to do that.
It's just a bit of fun. Like, again, what would me and my wife do it all the time? Like, when we watch Grand Designs, like, what would we do if we had loads of money? What would we do? What kind of house would we build? My wife is like sure that we're going to build a house at some point in my life. And I'm like, am I fuck? Because every time you watch Grand Designs, they always go over budget.
Oh
everything.
My God, it always goes wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I think it's about 9 months. Yeah, I was saying 9 months, and every time Kevin's like in his head, like going,
my
comes back 4 years later.
Oh my God, my favourite quote off that was a guy said, "Yeah, I've not got any building experience, not got any redevelopment experience, but I've watched a lot of Grand Designs to know what I'm talking about," and I just face palmed.
Yeah.
And inevitably it all went wrong and went massively over budgeting. But you have to start learning somewhere, and credit to those people who are taking the plunge. On that bombshell,
yep,
I would like to say that there is no excuse to not be able to do something or know something in this day and age
Yep.
of YouTube. For anyone wondering why I haven't done a video in about 6 weeks, I'll be honest, I can't be fucking bothered. YouTube is a very difficult platform to succeed on.
Yeah, no, it is, yeah.
Even the big guys are struggling. Subscriber view levels are down. Everyone's on TikTok. It's not for me. But yeah, I may do some videos coming up soon, but just can't be bothered, if I'm honest. So yeah, that's my update.
Yep, there we go. Nice cheery updates for everybody. But yeah, remember, leave your comments down below. Please have a bit of fun, right? For once in your life, just be like, right, get all that stuff out of your head, all that fucking moral high ground stuff. Have a bit of fun. What would you buy? What's the thing?
I've got one more thing, Paul. I forgot to say. 5-1 Germany. Bye.
Know what? I'm done. Fuck off. I'm done. Right, we're done. Fuck off. Fuck off.